Hi, my name is Chap Bettis, and I'm the author of The Disciple Making Parent, and this is my audio blog, where I read some of my blog posts in audio format for your convenience. In today's episode, we're going to be looking at a blog post that helps us think about how we should react if we have a prodigal. I recently gave a talk on prodigals to a number of parents, and I hope to get that recording up as a podcast and maybe also work on a little booklet. The whole talk is more than I can cover in this small audio blog, but of all the things I encouraged parents to focus on, one was to focus on your parenting dynamics. And there were 3 points underneath focusing on your parenting dynamics. So let's think about those. 1, we want to put responsibility back where it belongs. Our goal as a parent is to be faithful, not necessarily successful. And so the question we need to think about is, have I been faithful? And we need to remember that God has made all of us with the ability to make choices for which we're going to give an account. And actually, in one of my earliest podcasts, podcast number 8, my associate pastor speaks of a time that he deliberately turned away as a teen. His parents had done nothing wrong. He was just mad at God for allowing one of his friends to die. I've had another friend tell me, talk about a time when he was a teen. He said, I rebelled. I did not like the lifestyle that Jesus demanded. I wanted to sin. So both of those are instances where the parents did nothing wrong, that it was just a deliberate heart action of the child. So sometimes as parents, we forget that sin is first a problem on the inside, not the outside or environment. I found this quotation really helpful. Charles Spurgeon remembers this prayer of his mother. Listen to the context. I cannot tell you how much I owe to the solemn words of my good mother. It was the custom on Sunday evenings while we were yet little children for her to stay at home with us, and then we sat round the table and read verse by verse, and she explained the scriptures to us. After that was done, then came a time of pleading, and there was a little piece from Alien's Alarm or a Baxter's Call to the Unconverted. And this was read with pointed observations made to each of us as we sat round the table. And the question was asked, how long it would be before we would think about our state, how long before we would seek the Lord. And then came a mother's prayer, and some of the words of a mother's prayer we will never forget, even when our hair is gray. And I remember on one occasion her praying thus, Now, Lord, if my children go on in their sins, it will not be from ignorance that they perish, and my soul must bear a swift witness against them at the day of judgment, if they lay not hold of Christ. That thought of a mother's bearing swift witness against me pierced my conscience and stirred my heart. This pleading with them for God and with God for them is a true way to bring children to Christ." End quote. So in this instance, we see Charles Spurgeon's mother putting the responsibility on the children. Knowing that we were faithful does not take away the painful feelings, but it does take away the guilt feelings. So number 1, put responsibility back where it belongs. Number 2, be aware of self-centered victimization and emotional blackmail. We live in a child-centered world and a victimized world. It seems as if we're living in the new dark ages. You know, when our country's most educated people don't know what a woman is, dark ideas have descended upon us. In addition, we live in a psychologized and therapeutic world. Everyone is working through what their parents did to them. Rather than honoring their parents, they're blaming them. Everyone, it seems, needs a therapist. Unfortunately, this is the air that our children are breathing. Along with this comes what others have called emotional blackmail. Emotional blackmail says this: if I feel hurt, it's because you sinned and did something wrong. Well, that's not true. It may be true, but it's not necessarily true. See, sin causes us to curve in on ourselves, and being a victim gives you power. So the more deeply a child sinks into sin, the greater the self-absorption. So you can read more on emotional blackmail on another blog post. It's vital that you understand this important topic. This new quote-unquote trophy generation is self-righteous in pointing out the sin of others without looking at the sin in their own hearts. So number 2, be aware of self-centered victimization and emotional blackmail. Number 3, love wisely. In Philippians 1, Paul writes this prayer for that church. This is my prayer, that your love may abound more and more in knowledge and depth of insight. That's found in verse 9. Paul prayed, and therefore God encourages us to pray in 2 ways. First, we pray for more love. That is, we pray that our love would increase and abound. And second, we pray to love more wisely. We pray to love with more knowledge and insight. Why? Well, because love is multifaceted. Love encourages and admonishes. Sometimes love comforts. Sometimes love rebukes and disciplines. Jesus said that in Revelation 3:19. Those whom I love, I rebuke and discipline. It takes wisdom to know how to love. I once had a professor with a prodigal in her 20s living in his home, and I remember him saying, every morning my wife and I wake up and pray, Lord, do we rescue her today, or do we let her feel the consequences? See, we constantly are praying for the Lord's wisdom. So number 3, love wisely. So let's focus on what we can control. And when it comes to our own parenting thoughts, let's put responsibility where it belongs, avoid emotional blackmail, and love wisely. Well, thank you for listening to the Disciple Making Parent audio blog. We want to do all that we can to faithfully hold out the gospel. And that's why I've written The Disciple Making Parent. And we're on a mission to equip parents to pass the gospel to their children. We give away the audiobook of The Disciple Making Parent absolutely free. If you'll sign up for our weekly family discipleship email, we'll send you the audiobook of The Disciple Making Parent. Simply visit thedisciplemakingparent.com/free audiobook. That's thedisciplemakingparent.com/free audiobook. Thanks for listening.